This is where it all began. This is the curse of my life, where it all began. So way back in the 83, 84, I knew a Playboy Playmate named Karen. Her boyfriend, I've talked about this photo shoot before with Keith Forsey. And Keith Forsey was the record producer for Billy Idol and Charlie Sexton and a lot of other things. And I made a promo card. I've talked about this. The promo card went in the mail, went out to lots of people and lots of magazines. And the little promo card was this photo of Keith. But what it did, it got me my first music job for Musician Magazine. Musician Magazine was based out of Gloucester, Massachusetts, the premier musician magazine. That's why it was called Musician. I mean, it wasn't a rock magazine. It wasn't a music magazine. It was more a musician magazine. So they did articles on musicians and music, but really heavy into musicians. So great magazine. At the time, it was one of the better music magazines, not for just design, but for writers. Great music writers, great photographers. And that promo card got me my first shoot for Musician Magazine. The great, legendary, iconic designer, creative director, photo editor, friend, Gary Kupke hired me to do my first shoot, which was with Joe Zawinul from Weather Report, keyboard player. And Musician Magazine for me was, not only here I am shooting for my favorite magazine of musicians, but I'm working for Gary Kupke, and he knows to this day, like he's responsible for my career. He started hiring me. I became like the West Coast photographer for them. My second shoot was Maurice White from Earth, Wind and Fire. I think I shot like Wayne Shorter, Neil Young, oh my God, Robbie Robertson, like George Harrison, so many artists it's hard to even count, for 3 years. Doing those shoots for a magazine that paid little money. I mean, you'd be lucky if you got $300 to do a shoot, but paying was not the deal. It was opening doors. That opened every door at every record label for me in Los Angeles. It opened every door. Every time I did a shoot with somebody, it was like I got to meet the publicist. The publicist then, would recommend me to do the bigger jobs. So I brought here my two favorite covers from Musician Magazine. This one is, 1987 of George Harrison. A great cover of George, my favorite shoot to this day. I've talked about it in the past. But, meeting and shooting George Harrison, my favorite Beatle, was a major thrill. And then also, this one is September of 1987, of Robbie Robertson. This was a great shoot again with Robbie. Loved shooting Robbie. Who doesn't love the band? And he put out a great solo record at the time that is still great to this day. But shooting Musician was, all the different shoots I did for them. They're popping in my head right now. Like Joe Ely was a great session I did in Boston with him, and Gary was on that shoot with me. Doing these shoots for like little to no money didn't bother me. It was more about like, I'm meeting my heroes and I'm meeting my future clients. And that's really what it came about. I have here as well as, I think I did it for about 3 years. I guess, 3 years of Musician Magazine. I would say, roughly guessing, I probably did about 30 plus shoots for the magazine during that time. And of course, the favorite one, the best one ever, was Maurice White, because being the fact that I was a Earth, Wind and Fire fan and still am to this day, meeting him, hanging out with him, and talking to him was the best ever. The best ever. And then, and George Harrison. I can go down the list here and keep dropping names, but I'm not going to. But I tell everybody, if you do some research, I'm sure there's some back issues of Musician on eBay and things like that. But if you do some research, you'll see what a great magazine it was and what great writers they had. I mean, great interviews and great articles. I'm just looking at actually just noticed this cover of Robbie Robertson. I did this picture of Mark Knopfler on here as well, which is crazy. I think that was my second shoot with Mark Knopfler. Yeah. Oh, wow. Good times.